why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself, more on the personal level, like what you do for work, what you do for fun, and we can kind of roll into the hunting aspect.
I'm Trista and I own my own business. It's called Wildly Creative Co. And I do videography and photography for blue collar hunting, Western trades, outdoorsmen, that kind of stuff. And I didn't start doing that until a few years ago. And I didn't start hunting until 4 years ago. And then I lived in Missouri for 10 years. I grew up in Wisconsin and then I moved to Missouri for college, originally for music, which most people don't know about me. And then I decided I'm just good at this. I'm not passionate about it. So I'm going to change to business. Graduated, worked a few jobs down there, worked with a lot of veteran organizations and nonprofits and ad agencies and architecture firms and all this other stuff. And then I decided to start my own business. And when I first started, I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I did everything until I decided this is something I really like doing. And then I got involved with a women's group in Kansas. And that's how I started hunting, which is real fun because I actually have a big deer tattoo here.
Really?
And before I started hunting, so people were like, "Oh, do you hunt?" And I was like, "No, it's just for my grandpa."
Really?
And then I was like, "Oh, now I do." But what's crazy is it actually looks similar with how close the tines almost touch on the front. It almost looks similar to my first gun buck.
Really? What part of Wisconsin are you in?
Now I'm like north central Wisconsin, like just south of Wausau. I'd say southeast of Wausau.
You're quite a ways up there.
Yeah, I was living a little closer to like an hour from Green Bay, just like west of Green Bay. But yeah, not super far up here, but there's still bears and stuff, I guess, that go through here.
Wolves?
I haven't heard the neighbor talk about that. He's a big hunter. Actually, when I first met him, he just got back from a stag hunt in New
Interesting.
Zealand. And I was like, teach me the ways. But he hasn't talked about wolves. I know that my sister's fiance, he's a logger in the North Woods and he sees timber wolves all the time. But that's like north of Wausau, typically.
So how far from the northern border are you?
From here, I would say a couple hours.
Okay, so you're not that far north. I've heard
Nah.
wolves have destroyed the deer population in Wisconsin.
Yeah, my sister's fiance is from Merrill originally, which is northern Wisconsin. And like it's very hard for him to see deer
And
because the wolves are just, they're everywhere.
and the state isn't doing anything about the wolf population.
No, same as they're not doing anything about sandhill cranes either.
A lot of cranes there?
So many cranes.
Do they
So many.
do
They
they
don't
do,
let you shoot them.
do they do a lot of damage or what?
So the talk is that because it's like a nesting ground, that's why they don't allow you to shoot them, even though Minnesota does, which is weird. But people are trying to do that because, I mean, Wisconsin is a big ag state and the cranes are always out in the fields. So I'm assuming that they're going down the rows picking out seeds, and you do see them in the fields quite a bit right after they plant.
So you just see like groups of 100 cranes around or what?
Yeah. I lived in central southern Wisconsin for a little bit, and there were probably like 50 to 100 cranes. You'd see them all the time in the field.
That's so
So
interesting.
I know I was like, oh, because that was my first hunt ever was sandhill crane.
Really?
And I was like, why can't I shoot these?
How do you hunt cranes?
So same as waterfowl. You have decoys, you have calls, just sit in an A-frame.
So interesting.
Yeah, ribeye of the sky. They're delicious.
Are they really?
Yeah. Like you literally cook them to the same internal temperature as a ribeye. You would think no, because you'd think poultry, but it looks like a ribeye. It's just not fatty.
And so you shoot them and the dogs just go out and retrieve them?
Yes and no. If you have a sandhill crane like retrieving dog, typically they'll put goggles on them and a vest because apparently they will peck the eyes and the chest of the dog. Yeah.
Okay, now I'm intrigued a little bit.
I saw one get hit in the face and it still tried to fly away. They are determined.
They're a pretty tough bird, huh?
Yeah. But yeah, with dogs, like typically people, like when we did it, the guides went out. The husband and wife would go out and get the cranes out of the field. They didn't use dogs. But I do know some people that have used dogs and they have to put goggles on them.
So you're hunting them in open fields and not over the water?
Yeah. So it was like just like a cut down cornfield is where we did it. And then they checked it out like the night before because it was either going to be in Kansas or Oklahoma. It depended on where they were the night before because I guess they would stay in the salt flats overnight. And so then they let us know like that night what tag to get for what state.
Must have been right on the border then.
Yeah. Yeah. It was like a 5-minute difference. And it was interesting because in Kansas, they force you to take a test to identify whooping cranes versus sandhill cranes when you apply for a crane tag. But in Oklahoma, they don't require that.
So are you shooting them like waterfowl when they're flying, or you wait for them to land?
Yeah, there's no ground spotting.
Really?
I'm assuming people probably do that. But yeah, they're flying. And then I guess they're very sensitive to the whites of your eyes. It's just something very interesting. So, like, when you're in the blind, typically the guides are like, they're looking up. But they told us to constantly keep our eyes down because something about the whites of your eyes, I don't know. And they were very particular about that.
This might have to be on my bucket list or something.
I know some people and they're freaking great people. They're such nice people. He was bragging up his wife the whole time.
Do you gotta aim for the head on these
What do you mean?
when you shoot them, or you just aim for the body mass of these sandhill cranes?
I aimed for the head, but I didn't know what I was doing. That was my
Really?
first hunt. That was the first time I touched a dead animal.
So you didn't hunt. How would you get into a sandhill crane out of all things?
So I guess long story short, my dad and my grandpa hunted and they used to have hunting land with my grandpa's friends when I was growing up. And when I was 12, I got my hunter safety, but I never got the chance to use it because we were outvoted to sell the hunting land because none of my grandpa's friends' kids wanted it. And so we didn't get to keep it. So I never got the opportunity to like actually do anything with hunter safety. I mean, I still use my model 20 gauge Mossberg pump. Yeah, that's what I shot cranes with.
There you go.
That's what I had. So it's fine. Knew this girl who had this women's nonprofit group that does different hunts and outdoorsy things. And like she does different clinics on how to tie fishing knots. And I think they did some canoe trips. They did overnight kayaking trips to teach you how to properly pack your kayak so you're not going to like tip over when you're going down the river and then camp on the beach. And she had someone back out, like, because I was already doing a brand video for her so that she had something to like show, you know, to people when she goes to like trade shows or whatever. And she ended up telling me that, oh, someone backed out. It's non-refundable at this point. And it was like 3 days before they left. And she's, do you want to go? You don't have to pay for anything but your tag. And I was like, yeah, I want to go.
Sure.
Because I had filmed a couple things of her just like shooting clays and stuff for part of the brand video. And then the agreement was over the next course of the next year, there would be certain events that I would film. And then I would also be able to participate in them as like a partial trade agreement. And then we would use that footage to re-put into the original brand video. So it didn't look like it was all shot at the same time. So she told me I didn't have to film the crane hunt, but I did anyways. But that's how I started doing that. And then that's actually how I shot my first deer too. It was antlerless only in Kansas. And I used my grandpa's shotgun after he passed. And people thought I was crazy because people don't use shotguns to shoot deer down there.
So this is when you were in Missouri?
Yeah, that's when I started. And then, I mean, I was like in Kansas City for a while. And then I was like an hour north of Springfield for a couple of years. But it was like close enough to the border. And she lived in Kansas. So also how I learned how to shoot a pistol. They had an 8-hour long course.
8 hours, huh?
They taught you how to shoot it, you know, how to dry fire, see if you're flinching. They'd have you shoot different ways to see, you know, how you're flinching, whatever, how to aim, how to fix it when it gets jammed. They'd put a blank in your gun and you wouldn't know which one. So they could see if you were flinching. And I was like, this is interesting. So yeah, I was taught by like a sheriff and a army guy.
So that was your introduction to guns other than hunter safety?
I mean, I knew how to shoot a shotgun because hunter safety and whatever, but I had never shot a pistol before that. And the only other time I had shot a rifle before the deer hunt, my mentor was like, here, shoot this, because he was former Marine. But the only time I ever shot a rifle was when it was modified to shoot golf balls out of it for a nonprofit event. So you could tee off at a hole and people would pay more money to shoot an AR-15 that's modified to shoot golf balls.
How does
Of
that
course, people are going to pay more to tee off with an AR.
how does that work?
I don't know. A bunch of military vets get together.
Now I'm intrigued. I want to try that.
It was pretty fun. Who's going to say, no, I'm not going to tee off with a AR-15?
I'm gonna have to look that up. I've seen the potato guns set up to shoot golf balls, but that's about as far as I've seen.
I think they just put a blank in it and they put something in the end that the ball would sit in. I don't remember. It was such a long time ago, but that was the first time I ever used a rifle.
Good way to
So,
open up that experience.
yeah, when you work with a bunch of military vets, it's a good way to open up a lot of experiences.
You know. So you were in Missouri for what, 10 years? How'd you end up back in
hmm
Wisconsin?
My grandma wasn't in the best of health, so I was like, well, eventually I do want to go back up there. And my sister's here and my parents are here. My whole family lives here. So I did miss that. And I did miss actually having 4 seasons and winter sports instead of trying to make summer sports into winter sports.
So you're living in pretty close proximity to where your family is now?
I mean, yeah, they're kind of all over the place. My grandma passed a couple years ago, but my parents live about like 55 minutes from here. My sister lives probably like 45 minutes from here. But we looked all over the state for a house to make it worthwhile to flip it.
So you're just out in the middle of nowhere by yourself?
Yeah, that's typical. I want to be in the middle of nowhere. I mean, I lived in the city for 8 years. I was kind of over it at that point.
Figured if you're moving back to Wisconsin, you'd be a little bit closer to your family, but maybe
Yeah,
they're all spread out.
they are. They're probably like an hour and a half apart, but my sister and her fiance aren't too far apart. 30 minutes isn't really that bad of a drive.
No, not if you're out in the middle of
So,
nowhere.
no, and I don't really consider anything under, I don't know, I would say an hour and a half isn't really that bad of a drive. I traveled quite a bit when I first started doing hunting stuff and more of the outdoorsy videography stuff. I was traveling quite a bit by myself. So hence taking the pistol class so that I actually knew what I was doing.
So you're always packing, huh?
I try. I do need to get my concealed carry, but
So you
yeah,
have to use one in Wisconsin?
you can open carry
That's how
without
it
a
is in
permit.
Iowa.
Yeah, you can open carry, but you can't conceal carry. In Wyoming, I think you can conceal carry without a permit because I looked that up at one point. I know a ranch out there and they're like the nicest freaking people. So,
Yeah, you have to watch that since every state's a little bit different.
yeah. And then, if you're going through like Oklahoma, it's different. I refuse to go through Illinois.
I can't remember what they call those, but
Fibs.
effing Illinois bastards.
I had never heard that term until I moved back here.
Really?
It was a whole new experience. Learning that term and then learning what pull tabs are. I was like, what is that?
You didn't know them when you lived there when you were younger?
No, my parents didn't do that kind of stuff. I bartended for like a hot minute and then I went to college because you could bartend when you're 18.
They didn't have pull tabs there? Or you just
Not
did?
at that one because it was like a golf course.
Okay.
So, yeah, not a golfer. It was just down the road.
I thought they had pull tabs in all bars in Wisconsin.
They probably did, but it wasn't as big of a thing. I would say bar dice was more of a thing.
Bar dice?
Yeah. They give you like a cup, which is essentially, it looks like an oversized koozie. And you have dice in it, and then you throw dice on the bar, and it's different at every bar. I'm still trying to relearn this because it's different. And if you get like a certain amount of, let's say you get 3 4s, then they call it 34 or 43 or whatever. So there's different numbers, and then you're trying to beat the bar, and whoever loses buys the drinks for that round. So you can win free things from the bar.
I've heard people in Wisconsin don't even like to drink.
I think you have been misinformed.
I heard it's kind of a alcoholic state.
Yeah, that was also another culture shock when I came back here. What I've learned is it's either you're doing outdoorsy things or you're going to the bar. Unless you're going to go to a big city and you're going to do something like that.
Do you have any big cities by you?
Wausau. And they have quite a few things up there. My sister explores all over up there because she's the opposite of me. She's not outdoorsy at all. Pink and Mary Kay. But Yeah, I'd say up there. Otherwise, Green Bay isn't like huge, but it's decent. I don't go there. I went there for the draft and I worked the draft. They were looking for people and they're paying $18 an hour. And I was like, okay, screw it. I'll just go.
What'd you have to do?
Literally stand around and take people's pictures. That was my job all day. Take their phone, take a photo of them by the Lombardi trophy, take a photo of them in front of photo ops, direct them where to not go. Really fun when you're 5'2" and you're trying to body block people.
Who were you hired by?
It was like some contractors agency that does all of the drafts and the Super Bowls and that kind of stuff. But the news station posted about it, and my parents were like, you want to make money for the weekend? And I was like, okay, sure. I don't know. It was like some contracted agency that typically handles most of their stuff, from my understanding.
That'd be pretty
But
cool to go to a draft someday.
it was interesting because they gave you your own jacket and t-shirt and hat and whatever. So that was cool because I've never been to Lambeau. But when I was in Kansas City, I went to plenty of Chiefs games. And a girl that I was friends with for a long time, she's actually married to the trainer of the Chiefs now. And the last Chiefs game I went to, we got club seating and then we got after game field passes. So we were on the field when Patrick Mahomes was inducted into the Texas Tech Hall of Fame.
Chiefs fan or Packers fan?
I'm not really generally a football fan.
I didn't know if you grew up watching football as a family or how that worked.
Occasionally, but it wasn't like a big thing. It was more so we were more focused on the music aspect because my sister also does a lot of music stuff. So she plays the French horn. But we had a lot of like competitions, and like she and I both played at Carnegie Hall, and we both played in Europe. We did a 7-country tour in 16 days. So we were mostly focused on that kind of stuff.
So you're a Vikings fan?
No. To be honest, I know more about the Chiefs just because I was down there for a long time. Because by the time I got back up here, I didn't know any of the players anymore.
Sounds like you're a bandwagon fan.
I don't really watch it to watch it for funsies. I watch it because people enjoy watching it and I enjoy watching them. Same with like the Royals. I went to the Royals parade. I don't really care about baseball, but I wasn't going to miss a parade that had millions of people blocking the streets.
I was just making fun of your word. The first time I ever heard that was the first girl I interviewed for this podcast. I didn't even notice until I was editing it. Funsies.
I don't know. Is that not a normal word?
People outside of Iowa are just weird, apparently.
Do you know what a bubbler is?
I do because of a podcast I listened to.
Thank God. I asked where the bubbler was in Missouri and they thought I was asking to smoke weed.
Do you know who Charlie Barons is?
Yep.
The only reason I knew is because of one of his podcasts.
Yep. Yeah. Someone asked me if I wanted a bong when I asked where the bubbler was, and I was like, no, I just want a drink of water.
Why can't you just call it a water fountain?
That's so much longer to say.
Bubbler can mean so many things, though.
Yeah, but bubbler apparently was the name of the company that manufactured them, which is why people in Wisconsin call them bubblers.
Wisconsin people are just a little out there, I guess.
Yeah, that was probably my favorite part of coming back up here because I go to this country music festival in the Northwoods in Rhinelander every year. And just listening to people talk and how insane their accents are when you get up there, it's the best.
The Wisconsin accent?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, we were out in a boat.
So, like, same as northern Minnesota.
It gets pretty close. Yeah, especially up there. It's very emphasized on the O's.
Yeah. I had a little bit of it when I grew up in northern Iowa, but
Yeah, I had changed mine when I moved to Missouri because I was sick of getting crap for it. So
now who cares what anybody else thinks?
sometimes it was hard for people to actually understand me.
It's interesting, the city names in Wisconsin, too. They're a little out there. Sheboygan,
Manitowoc.
the Manitowoc Minute. Where did these names come from? What's the history behind that?
Native Americans normally.
Really? Wisconsin's a
Yeah.
big Native American state?
Yeah, I'm actually from a tribe that migrated from New York to Wisconsin. And I went to a powwow and all that kind of stuff because it's interesting. But there's a lot of Native American history here, which is why there's so many Native American sounding names.
Okay.
But there's also a lot of Irish and German.
Makes sense.
Yeah, my hometown actually changes the name from New London to New Dublin every year for St. Patrick's.
Interesting.
It's an excuse to drink more. I don't know.
Like Wisconsin needs an excuse to drink more.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think there's a reason that Wisconsinites aren't allowed to enter drinking competitions outside of Wisconsin.
Wouldn't be fair.
Yeah, like you're just born with it.
So, do you do most of your hunting in Wisconsin or traveling?
No, so I've been on a lot of hunts that I had never hunted it before, but I was filming it. So that's how I went on my first duck hunt. I was on this Zoom call where it was like an intro to waterfowl hunting. And because I was like, that'd be interesting. I'd like to learn more about that. And the Conservation Federation of Missouri, the president at the time, was on that call. And so he and I started talking more afterwards. And he was like, so you do videography, photography? And I was like, yeah. And he goes, would you want to come out and film my dog before he gets too old to go hunting? And I was like, hell yeah, I'll go film your dog. So he took me out. I had to leave my house. I think it was like 1 a.m. because we had to get there to pull for tags for a certain spot. And we didn't get a great spot. I don't remember all the details, but he knew the laws in regards to all of this. So he was like, because you don't have a tag, you can't touch my decoys to help me put them out. And he knew all those laws and stuff. And I ended up borrowing his mom's waders because it was like waist deep, and sat there, and he got a couple to come in, and we got really good footage of that. And it was super cool. And it was actually their magazine cover for one of the months. But that was the first duck hunt that I ever went on. And then I started to learn more about it and film more of that kind of stuff, and more waterfowl hunts and goose hunts and that kind of stuff. And then same with antelope. So then I started actually hunting those things. But with antelope, I went and I filmed an antelope hunt in Wyoming. And that kind of gave me like an idea of how this works because I had no idea. I was like, I don't know. And I filmed, it was like a women's event for youth women to shoot their first antelope. And it was sponsored by Beretta, I think it was. And like they had very nice guns and tripods. So that was fun to see that part of it. And then the next year I went out and I filmed my ex shoot antelope, but I had some experience from the year prior and he didn't know what he was doing. So I told him what I learned with those other ones. And then I took my dad actually last year antelope hunting, and it was our first father-daughter hunt. And it was his first time hunting out of the state. So it was like 2 years prior, I started applying for points. I called my mom and I was like, what's dad's social? And she's like, why? So I bought him points, and that was our surprise to him for Father's Day last year, was getting to go on an antelope hunt because he wasn't sure he could even do it. And I was like, Dad, there's a guy out there in a metal fold-out chair with a full leg brace on. I think you'll be fine.
He was worried
Um,
about the walking or what?
yeah, he was worried about, I wouldn't say like the walking, but he'd seen like the elk hunts that I had filmed in Colorado and all the blowdown and elevation, and some of it's pretty rough, especially when you're carrying a pack. And I think he was thinking it was similar. And I was like, Dad, it's just sagebrush. You'll be fine.
A lot of
I
flat
did make him
walking.
walk 10 miles. I felt really bad. He walked 10 miles the first day.
Why'd you have to walk so far?
I wanted him to shoot his first, obviously, even though I had tagged two. But I set him up on a couple of different shots. He's never shot beyond 250 yards. So we went to the range quite a bit to practice before that so he could understand like the drop and all of that kind of stuff, which is stuff that I've learned over the course of time just from watching other people and then also like filming those things. And so we went out, and like the first one he had a shot at was like 220 yards. And the average shot is 250. And so I was like, 220 isn't bad, but he didn't want to listen and he missed because he's like, well, I think it's 250. And I was like, just hold on. You're zeroed at 200. Just hold on. Just don't, but he shot over it. And then the second one, he had an opportunity at 150 yards, I think is what it was. And he shot under it because he was overcompensating. And then at that point, he was like, it's your turn. I've already missed two. It's your turn. And we just got back from eating at the truck and we're walking down the road and we saw one go to the left. And I was like, Dad, just go after that one. And so we kept walking, and I look over to my right where he missed the first one early that morning. And there's another buck there in that same, it's like a bowl area. And I was like, do you want to go for that one, or do you want to go for the one that we don't know where it went, but it went around the corner, but it was much smaller? I said, or do you want to double up? And he's like, let's double up. And I was like, okay, hopefully that one is in front of you still. And so he went up onto this like little berm area and looked down, and I went across the road and then hiked up this like little area to look down into that bowl area. And by the time my dad got up to his side, that antelope was long gone. No idea where that one went. And then the one that I was at was like 240 yards. And I don't have a tripod. I was using my friend's husband's rifle because I don't own a rifle. And he was like, yeah, it's zeroed at 200. He goes, let me know how it shoots, because with the kids, it's hard for me to go out and shoot it. So he lent me a 270 and I practiced with it. And I didn't have a tripod, so I just shot off my pack and I practiced that way. And so I shot mine at 240 and I hit him in the shoulder and he didn't go down. He kept running. And I tried hitting him again because I'm still learning. When you're looking at onyx and public versus private, it's completely different when you see that landscape in person, especially when there's not very many like landmarks to look at and it's sagebrush and some hills. So he started running back towards private, and I was like, I don't know where the private line is, and I don't want to deal with that. So I shot another couple times. One was at like 300 yards. I hit him again. He still didn't go down. And so then he pops up over this berm, and he was way far away. I think he was probably 700 yards away from me at that point. And so I called my dad, and I was like, I'm going to walk down and I'm going to try to peek up over that little berm because I know he went down over there. I just need you to keep an eye on him for me. So we did a lot of back and forth walking that day, and he wanted to like scope out like the other part of the unit that I had never seen prior to all of this happening. But then I ended up getting up to my antelope and I shot him again and I hit him again. And I was like, okay, at this point, like he was hurting, like he was going to die. And I just sat there for an hour and a half and watched him through the scope. And he just kept nodding his head because he's laying down, but he wasn't giving up. So then finally my dad came over. I only had one bullet left. So I wasn't anticipating shooting anything. I wanted my dad to shoot. So he came over, caught up with me, sat there with his rifle. I went up over in a little berm area, hill area, and I shot him at 63 yards, and then he was done. But I was like, you could see all the freaking bullet holes, and he still didn't go down. I wanted to go up on the other side of him to cut him off, so if he did end up getting up, then I was in between him and private. So then he would go further on the public. So
Then how far did you have to drag him?
I didn't have to drag him. We just quartered him out in the field, which is like what my ex and I had done the year prior. We just quartered him out in the field and then packed it up and left. And with my dad, he's never had a pack. So I just told him to get a frame if he really wanted one, but he didn't need to get one because I had an extra bag that came with my mystery ranch kit that I got when I did my elk hunt. So I was like, Dad, you don't need to put stuff in your pack. Like, you're not used to that. It's going to hurt your back. One of my dogs, Luna, actually, I put her in my pack sometimes.
Really?
Yeah, she just lets me do it. She injured her foot one time and I put her in there. And I already had a 40-pound bag of salt in my pack. So I was carrying 85 pounds at that point. And that was terrible.
Just to build up strength and work out.
With just her in the pack, yeah. Or with just 40 pounds of salt in the pack. But when she injured her foot, I had no option. So she also went into the pack. So I learned my lesson the hard way by not practicing the first year I filmed an elk hunt.
You just got tired really quick.
I lost 3 belt loops in 6 days. Not even just tired, just weight loss.
A lot of walking, huh?
A lot of walking, a lot of elevation, a lot of going over blowdown and navigating different things.
What's the advantage of having the frame on the pack? I've never been out west.
So the first year I did an elk hunt, fun fact, I worked at REI for a little bit, so I learned these little hacks. You can return anything that you buy at REI within a year, regardless of the condition. So even shoes, even packs, even tents. So my first year I went on the elk hunt to film these people. I didn't want to invest in that equipment because I wasn't sure if I was going to do it again. REI does not sell frame packs. So I just got a normal pack and I got a tent and a sleeping bag and that kind of stuff to test it out. I kept the sleeping bag, but when I had that, it was much more difficult to be able to help them pack out their elk when they got it because I had nowhere to put it. Because then there's the difference between the in the bag frame pack and the one that separates from the frame. And the ones that separate from the frame are much better for carrying large amounts of meat. You're never going to put a hind quarter from an elk in one of the ones that the frame is built into the pack.
Like a backpack.
Yeah, but when you have that much weight on your back, the shelf helps support all of that. So there's a shelf kind of thing, and then it helps with the weight distribution on your back. If I wouldn't have had a frame pack 2 years ago, the second elk hunt that I filmed, I was carrying 80 pounds on my back of just camera gear and water and all of the basics like first aid kit and all of that to spend a night on the mountain. And if I wouldn't have had that, I wouldn't have had as good of weight distribution, I feel.
Are
But
they
mostly it's
just
just for meat.
are they really uncomfortable carrying the frame?
No, the only issue that I found is from a men's pack to a woman's pack. There's a difference in obviously the hips. I'm not sure if you wear Sitka or not, but Sitka is what I wear because it's the only system that I've found that has a wide variety of women's layering. So I can use it for a lot of the different hunts that I film and go on, but also it's cut differently for a woman's hips and shoulders versus if I go to Walmart and get freaking mossy oak. It's going to look like a box on me. It's not going to be comfortable, but the same with packs. So when you have the hip belt around you, it's going to fit a man differently than it will a woman. But if you have it hooked up correctly and you have because it'll have the frame will go up here behind your head, there will be these straps that go from here to here. And if you have weight in your pack or in between the frame and the pack, if you crank those down, it offers more support where it actually distributes it onto your hips versus your shoulders.
Interesting.
So that's something that I eventually ended up investing in. I got 2 different pack sizes that fit the same frame. It was a part of a deal that Black Ovis had, and it was very nice.
So if I ever go out west, I'm probably gonna need a frame pack.
Yes. And one of the guys the first year on the elk hunt learned the hard way to get the one that separates from the frame and the pack. It'll literally fold forward. And then you just use belt buckle loop things on the sides to secure the meat in your game bags in between the pack and the frame. Yes. Because he learned the hard way because his was you couldn't separate it. And they gave him a hind quarter. And there's no way you're going to carry that bone in without being able, because it's not going to fit in the backpack. It's way too big for that. But it does help a lot. When I got my antelope, it was easy. And then with that deal that they had, they also gave you reusable game bags. Very nice.
Really?
So nice. Yeah. And you got to choose what size. So I just chose large because I was like, I can use it for anything. And they're just machine washable and easy peasy done.
Yeah, it's so interesting. I'm not familiar with this at all.
I've been blessed to be able to watch other people do it and learn from their mistakes.
So when you're going out west, are you trying to get a lot of this stuff on camera?
If it's not me, yeah. Because I'm new to hunting, I don't like to self-film. There's too many other things that I'm worried about. And when you're looking through a camera lens, you're not really able to be there 100% because you're not paying attention to anything else. I don't have spatial awareness when I'm filming other people through my camera. I'm looking at what the shot's going to look like. So I guess it's the same as if you have your phone out and you have a big buck walk underneath you because you're not paying attention.
What kind of camera do you use to film?
I use a Canon R5, but I'm looking to change to a different one because I taught myself photography and videography and the Adobe suite and all of that kind of stuff. And I started with the 7070 and then I upgraded to the R5. And the only issue that I have with it is it overheats because it can film in up to 8K and it's great. And it's the quality, you could tell quality difference. The colors are great, but it overheats quite a bit, especially if it's 80 to 90 degrees, it'll start to overheat and then it won't let you film. So then you got to wait.
Is 8K really that necessary?
It is if you don't have a zoom lens.
So that way you can zoom in on software and stuff like that.
Yeah. So let's say like you film something in 4K. That's 4 times 1080. So you can zoom in 4 times closer to something that you took video of if you export the video in 1080. So it's like the same with 8K. Like I don't film 8K. There's no reason for me to film 8K. I just rent lenses if I need that big of a lens. But I film in 4K because it's a complete difference. And especially because everybody wants it in either vertical or horizontal. Nobody can make up their mind. I need the ability to be able to zoom in. If I film it horizontally and I want to make an Instagram reel, I got to zoom in. Otherwise, it has the black on the top and bottom.
Even 4K takes up so much memory.
Oh, yeah. I have probably, I don't know, 1 to 2 terabyte external hard drives.
32 gigabyte memory card isn't going to get you very much.
No, and I use 256 gigabyte memory cards. And then they have to be a certain processing speed, which I didn't know. I learned that the hard way.
Yeah, I recorded a podcast video in one of my buddy's studio, and I brought 232 gigabyte memory cards, and they filled up in 45 minutes. So we used something that they had on hand. He's like, "Oh, don't worry, just keep them. We don't use these type." I figured out why they don't use them when I was trying to get stuff off of it. Probably didn't have enough speed because it was a bugger to get that stuff figured out.
It's probably speed. And then also, like, I learned that if you don't clear it and format the card prior to using it, you only get like half the footage.
These are
So it'll
brand
get
new
corrupted.
cards.
Yeah, with brand new cards, I always format them because I've had it happen before. I filmed a firefighting training and some police stuff with the Bearcat thing. They brought that for part of a promotion, and I didn't format the SD card prior. I lost all of the footage except for a quarter of it, and none of it could be found.
Oh, that'd be
So,
so annoying.
yeah. So if you have something that you can't reshoot, especially like hunts or something like that, I could have reshot if I wanted, but format the card as soon as it comes out of the thing.
What's your go-to lens on that?
For filming in general,
Let's say if somebody wanted to film a hunt and just wanted like a one-size-fits-all lens.
I made the mistake of getting fixed lenses. So you want a zoom lens. But I also talked to a lot of people that use Sony. I think it's like the A7 III. From my understanding, it has better low light capabilities because my Canon, I'm sure that I could do better low light. But when you're picking out a lens, make sure that the f-stop is as low as possible, a 1.8 or something, because it's going to let more light into your lens, especially early morning or late at night. And then I started renting, the 24 to 70 for like general filming, because if you're in waterfowl blind, I want somewhat wide angle, but I don't want the bubble effect. So I'll do like a 24 to 70, but what I've learned also is the 70 isn't quite close enough to film anything coming into the blind or the stand. So on the elk hunt that I did 2 years ago, I rented 2 different lenses. I did the 28 to 300, which was nice, but the f-stop wasn't very low. So I couldn't use it early in the morning or late at night. But I could zoom into 300. Otherwise, I used the 70 to 200 because I could film from further away and my microphones would still capture their stuff. But for a self-filmer, I would say 24 to something. If you really want to know, because I'm still learning all that kind of stuff, call B&H Photo. They are the freaking best people because they recommend so much stuff. You'll tell them what you're wanting, what you're looking for, what you're doing, what's easy for a beginner, how do I do this? They'll answer all of your questions.
The only unfortunate thing about mirrorless or DSLR is you don't have that electronic zoom. So if you're trying to self-film, you almost have to have 2 hands on.
There are some attachments that you can add to certain lenses where it'll have a ring that goes around the zoom or the focus. and it'll go back to the back of the camera so you can use one hand.
Interesting.
So there are attachments and stuff that you can use for that if you did use the mirrorless, but I know that a lot of people like the electronic zoom. My issue is when I see the electronic zoom, it reminds me of when a cell phone zooms. It looks very similar and grainy.
Yeah.
And I also like that the mirrorless ones, most of them are weatherproof. They're never going to say waterproof, but mine's been rained on, it's been fine. Mine's been snowed on, it's been fine.
Another guy that I talked to, recorded a podcast with, he uses R7.
I got my R5 when it first came out, so they didn't have any of the R series besides that one out.
Really?
And I love it, but I was looking at the cinema camera, but I also take photo, so it's hard for me to just only look at a cinema camera, but it's hit and miss, I think. But if you do an action camera, I highly recommend the DJI. It doesn't have the fishbowl effect. It's already waterproof. I know that GoPro came up to par with DJI, but I've used DJI I strapped it to the back of hunting dog's back because it had a little harness. And it was when he was going out to get ducks in the water. And the stability at that time, it was far superior to GoPro's stability. Like you could actually tell it was still going on, even with it moving on the dog's back. And one of my friends let coffee drain on it. Totally fine. Hot coffee, straight out of the Keurig. Yeah, he wanted to see a shot from underneath the Keurig for a sequence he was doing to see if it would be okay underneath that hot of water. Totally fine.
When I first started podcasting, not this one, but the other one, I'm like, man, a GoPro would work pretty good for a webcam. As soon as I tried that out, I took it back. I thought the image on this sucks.
The DJI ones are great because DJI also makes drones. They're professionals in making small cameras. So
I have the DJI microphone set, whatever.
yeah, that one, it's because I had the Rode microphone set at first, and then I switched to the DJI one after my first elk hunt because the DJI one, the recording capability, if you're out of range, is better. But also, fun fact, you can actually, because the other ones, the light on them was too bright. If you were out in early morning hours before a hunt, you could see the light.
On the roads?
Yes. And you can't tape over it because it's near the transmitter. But with the DJI ones, those are very nice because like I could put a little bit of gaff tape over it, just like black gaff tape over the light. And most of like the dead cat, the fuzzy thing, most of that covers the light anyways, but it was much less in your face.
Do you use those? Whatever you call them?
Dead cats? Yeah. They make the sound quality a lot better and you hear a lot less rustling, especially if you have it attached to a lapel. If you're moving around, it's going to capture everything. And when you have the dead cat on it, it essentially softens that and removes a lot of that noise. Yeah, I still go down to Kansas and Missouri for hunting for waterfowl and turkey if I can. And then I've been applying for whitetail for getting points in Kansas because my friend lives like the southern point of Kansas, closest to the Missouri border. But they get giant freaking bucks all the time. Just massive. The one she shot, was it 2 years ago? It was like a Coke can.
Really?
For the mass. And it was atypical and it wasn't very wide, but it was just mass. And I was like, that's insane. So she was like, yeah, come on down. And every time I come down, because we hunt her parents' property too, I just bring them spotted cow and cheese curds. And her parents are like, when's she coming back? Because we have to ration our spotted cow.
Spotted cow is pretty good.
Yeah. So I'm doing that. And then I go for turkey. And I tried for 3 years in 3 different states till I shot my first turkey.
What state was
That's it. Kansas. It's
Kansas.
the shape of Kansas.
I can't see that far.
That was my first turkey. And that was 2024. And I mean, it was like a mature Jake because it's almost flush.
Still counts.
Yeah. But I never got an opportunity another time. And then I got that same year, I shot, it was my first solo hunt ever by myself without a friend or boyfriend or whatever. And I shot my first tom that year too in Wisconsin.
Okay.
And that was cool because like I watched the pattern because they actually had a pattern and I called him in. I watched him strut at 85 yards for 45 minutes.
Really?
Forever. And I was like, bro, I gotta go at 8 a.m. I have a meeting. So figure it out. And he wouldn't come in for any hen calls, nothing. I threw a gobble call at him. All of the hens come in, and then he starts coming in.
So you got it figured out eventually.
Yeah. And then another freaking Tom comes screaming in, doing the little warning cluck thing, and comes screaming in from my other side because there were no turkeys over there. So I was like, oh, I can move on that side. They can't see me. Because I was like tucked back into a second pasture area where it was like very wooded and they were out in the field. And he comes screaming in, and I'm like, oh my God, this is going to ruin my shot. The Tom that I ended up shooting was at 55 yards because I knew where 40 yards was. I had enough time, 45 minutes, to figure out where that was for me. He was at 55 yards and I shot him and dropped him with my youth model 20 gauge.
There you go.
He didn't even flop. I shot him on my ex's parents' property. I called his mom. She and I are still best friends. She's the nicest lady. I called her and I was like, I shot a turkey. And she goes, do you need help? Do you need me to come over? And I was like, sure, if you want. You want to take pictures? And she took like great photos. I was like, can you bring the turquoise truck? Because that would look really cool in front of the red barn.
Did you bring the turquoise truck?
She did. Those are great photos. And it was like inch spurs and almost 12-inch beard. I mounted it myself. I did the wings, the fan, the beard, and the skull. People thought I was crazy to do the skull. They're like, you're going to Euro a turkey skull? And I was like, yeah, I've seen a couple like that and they're cool.
Did it turn out pretty cool?
Yeah. As soon as people see it, they're like, that does look cool. And I was like, I know. But that one is actually in the shape of Wisconsin for this because I had some guy on Etsy cut these out for me and then I had him make the plaques a certain length for the beard.
Mm-hmm.
And then I used my shotgun shell like mounted forward for this one and it's mounted down for the other one. And then I also have like little black star pins on where I shot it in the state. So it's like a little bit different. So I should just go in the living room and show you the other thing. But I like having my mounts be different than everybody else's.
I can see that.
Because I'm still learning. When you go into someone's house and I look at all the deer mounts on the wall, to someone who doesn't know that much about hunting, you don't understand the difference in mass and that kind of stuff. Because I grew up where, oh, it's an 8-pointer, it's a 10-pointer. I didn't grow up with, yeah, that's a 180. I know what that means, but I can't visualize it yet. So, like the first year that I started bow hunting, which was 2 years ago, I shot my bow buck, which shout out to VPA because I shot it through the shoulder blade.
Really?
It still penetrated, still double lunged it, lodged in the opposite rib cage.
Pretty impressive.
Yeah, for a 45-pound draw weight. And then like my draw length isn't very long.
Mm-hmm.
I'm short. So, you don't have as much velocity. So, for it to go through a shoulder blade, and I have pictures of the scapula with the hole that my broadhead had made.
Is that a fixed or mechanical?
Fixed.
Fixed.
Yeah, VPA doesn't make mechanical.
What's it called? BPA or V?
V, like Vantage Point Archery. They're American made and machined. And I can't remember if they're based in Iowa or Ohio.
There's just so many
But they are the freaking best. I know, because everybody's, oh, you shoot this, you shoot that. I'm like, I don't know that brand. Like that they're American made and machined. And you can resharpen them.
Yo, I'm looking at them right now.
So as soon as I get new ones, I sharpen them immediately.
Are you using just a 2 or 3 blade?
I use the 3 blade. And then my ex started doing traditional and he started using the 2 blade, but then they came out with a new, why can't I think of it, with the additional blade that slides into it. EPA did. And they've been posting a lot of like testimonials for that. And I've heard that's a really nice blade too. But I just used the 3 blade fixed blade, like non-vented. And it went straight through a freaking scapula.
Yeah, and super easy to sharpen those too.
And for a beginner, you can't mess it up.
You'll have to keep those in mind.
Because those are amazing. And then I've been looking at working with them And anytime that I work with a brand like that, I typically like to find hunters that use a similar style broadhead. And then essentially you're going to get them for free. And I get to film it and you
You
get
know,
to keep them. But they're a great brand and I like that brand a lot. And then HHA, if you know them, I don't know if Chris or not, the owner, nicest guy you'll ever meet in your life. I moved back to Wisconsin. I didn't bow hunt. And my insurance guy grew up with the owner of HHA. And he introduced me to him because he lives in Wisconsin Rapids. They were still based out of his mom's basement 2 years ago.
really,
I took a tour. It's like a ranch house with a full basement. I took a tour of it, and it's all like all the parts on cookie sheets and baking racks.
that's pretty interesting.
And yet they're a national brand. It was so cool. And they're like the nicest people. And then they also have a nonprofit version of it that benefits veterans. So they do different 3D shoots all over the state. And then they do like silent auctions and stuff. And he sponsored a lot of different people going on like the honor flight and that kind of stuff, which is super awesome. And they're just like the nicest freaking people. He gave me my bow sight for free. It's worth more than my bow.
Really?
I was like, I don't know what I'm looking at.
What do you shoot for a bow?
I started on a diamond that I bought from a client. And then I think there was a hairline fracture on my knock when I released because I knew it was in there and it meant the cam split the limb.
Ooh,
And it was like a week before the shoot for HHA because I wanted to say thank you for giving me a free bow sight because he didn't want anything in return. I'm like, that's expensive, man. So then I bought another diamond because I wasn't sure if the bear would fit me properly or not at that point. So I did the other diamond, and that's what I ended up shooting my bow buck with that went through the shoulder blade. And then I upgraded to the bear, the one with the retro camo that they did the partnership with, what is it, Hunting Public or something,
okay.
but it had the retro camo. And I upgraded to that straight out of the box. We just adjusted the draw length and weight. And straight out of the box, the sight isn't adjusted. Nothing else is adjusted. I was hitting like this.
That's pretty awesome.
Like it's very reliable because like for me, the grip is everything. In that second diamond I had, I was not a fan. Like I had to constantly worry about my grip on how it was sitting in my palm.
So is that what you're still shooting is the bear bow?
Yeah, that's what I shot mine with last year. My parents only have 2.5 acres. Most of it is yard, but
Okay.
there's a very big deer trail that goes through there. And I just wanted a doe because it was my first time ever putting out trail cams by myself. It was my first time putting up a stand and deciding where to put it. It was my first time like hunting by myself for whitetail. And so I practiced a lot and like I knew that they were going to come into a close range because of how close I sat right behind the fire pit, like 10 feet off the
Really?
ground. Yeah, 10 feet. I have one little spot of coverage. It was like 5 maple leaves, like this big. And I was like, it is what it is. Like they're used to my scent in the yard. They're used to my dog scent in the yard. It's fine. And I practiced the day before. I'm glad I did. But I put my bag out and I shot from my stand to see where I needed to aim if they came in to 10 yards or less. And I'm glad I friggin' did because I shot my buck opening morning at 7 a.m. at 7 yards. He's quartering away and I hit behind his rib cage and my broadhead almost exited in front of the opposite shoulder. That's how far quartering away he was.
Still killed him, right?
Oh yeah, he was dead, but my arrow was completely in the deer. The fletching wasn't even barely sticking out.
Really?
Yeah, my arrows aren't very long. Like you could see my broadhead almost poke through the hide on the opposite side. And eventually it ended up breaking off. My arrow did. And only this much of my arrow was stuck to the broadhead. The rest of the arrow broke off and exited. But I didn't find blood for 20, 30 yards. Found my arrow at about 50. And then I found him at about, I would say 80 or 100. And he was done because it just double lunged him. But there's nowhere for the blood to go when my whole entire arrow is embedded. So,
Gets to be a challenge, doesn't it?
yeah. But to be honest, that was probably my favorite I was a little disappointed because I wanted to shoot a doe. I wasn't anticipating shooting a buck first thing opening morning. I was happy with the size of that buck because for around us, it was big.
Yeah. That was your first archery buck?
No, that was my first solo archery buck last year.
Okay.
My first archery buck is in the living room with my first gun buck because I made a pack mount to mount them together. That one I bought because I cheated.
Really?
Yeah, that was before I hunted. And that's my antelope. But anyways, so when I shot that, I was like disappointed because I wanted a doe. And I was like, now what? I sat the rest of the season and I ground sat a few times just to see what I could get away with. And I've never, unless you're out west, I don't really hear of people doing that around here, like ground sitting without a blind.
Yeah.
And I sat like with my back up against a tree. There's only like maybe 5-10 sticks in front of me. And 2 bucks come walking, and it was like a spike and a fork. And it was like 10 degrees. I don't know. And they came 5 feet from me.
Really?
And they didn't know I was there. I could count the hairs on their butt.
That's pretty cool.
And it's like fun to sit there and watch that, and they don't even know you're there. Not many people around here, especially, don't get that experience. And everybody kind of treats it like a party in Wisconsin, especially for gun season. And for me, it's like things like that where you get to see something like 5 feet away from you and they don't even know you're there and they're just doing what they're going to do. That's so much cooler.
Yeah. Makes it all worth it, doesn't it?
It does. Because then it's like the first time I saw pintails fly. It was during a snow goose hunt. And they're not in season, but you got to see them come to the spread and swoop in and freaking cup up and go back up and do it again. Like, it's just fun to watch. I still need to shoot my first duck. It's on the bucket list.
It'll happen.
I got to shoot my first duck and I got to shoot an elk and then maybe a turkey with a bow. But after 3 years of trying in 3 different states and millions of ticks, I don't know about that.
Just takes time.
I had ticks dropping on my eyelashes.
What state was this in?
Kansas.
Yeah, no thanks. I don't do ticks.
It was 107 degrees.
Not a big fan of ticks.
I'm not either, but at least down there, like Lyme's disease isn't as prevalent. I don't know about Iowa.
I'm sure you can get it anywhere.
It's not as prevalent down there, but that one disease is more prevalent. That makes you allergic to red meat, the Lone Star ticks. Yeah, those are what I had on me all the time. I always had the Lone Star ticks. And then I always sat in at least 1 tick nest every single time. The last time I turkey hunted down there, I sat in 2.
Yeah, I think his 4th or 5th podcast is actually a guy that got that disease from a Lone Star tick.
Really? How long was it attached for? Because that's what I want to know. Because with Lyme's, it's like under a certain hour threshold. As long as you remove it, you should be okay.
I think it's probably like an overnight deal. Didn't check himself before he went to bed, or
That's how I became friends with my friend in Kansas that I go hunting with. Is I made her check me for ticks everywhere.
they freak me out.
I had no one else to check me, and I was like, I can feel them on my back, and I can't see them. So you need to look for them.
Then you normally feel something and you're like, you think it's a tick, but there's actually nothing there.
Yeah, it's just a hair.
Yeah.
It's the worst. I've never had such bad ticks as I have in Missouri and Kansas. I've tried DEET. I've tried, what's the other thing? Permethrin.
Yeah, permethrin.
I sprayed my clothes 24 hours to 48 hours in advance with permethrin. I still had them landing on my eyelashes. I still had one on my ear. I still had, I don't even know how many were on me. There were a lot. The only thing that I've found that has worked for me is like this Grandpa Gus stuff. It's called Grandpa Gus. Usually use it for like mouse stuff, but it's all natural.
Really?
And that's the only thing that I've found that actually keeps them a majority of the time away from me.
I'll have to look that stuff up.
Or there's this ranch in Kansas. It's a high fence game ranch. It's called Timber Hills Lake Ranch. The owner of it, he actually owns Mr. Good Sense, but his son is the one that's managing it. His name is Joey. That's where I shot a 50 cal tracer rounds and all this other fun stuff. They're military guys. But anyways, he started making this tick recipe. To me, it smells like Bloody Mary mix. Him, it smells like barbecue. But it's a lotion that you can put on and it lasts like 24 hours or 48 hours. I can't remember what he said. And you don't have to worry about the like washing it off.
Really?
Essentially, how he originally described it to me, it dissolves their legs. And I was like, is there napalm in this? And he's like, no. He's like, it's all natural stuff. He goes, it's different thing. And that was the only thing that has ever worked for me
Interesting.
besides the Grandpa Gus stuff. Like, if they actually get to your skin, that stuff works. I don't know if I really want to go out into the woods smelling like Bloody Mary mix either, though.
Probably not.
No, but I do have to ask you because I'm learning all these things. But obviously, like in Kansas and like Wisconsin and Iowa, like everybody has different things on baiting, right? I don't do that because I like to watch like their normal patterns because it's like satisfying for my ADHD brain. But have you ever noticed anything with sawdust?
What do you mean?
If you have cut down a fresh tree, have you noticed there's more deer traffic?
Haven't paid attention.
Try it this season and see.
You think they eat it?
Yeah, they do.
It doesn't surprise me if they eat on some of that growth.
I have trail camera videos of them not necessarily eating it, they're just more licking it, almost like a cow and cud. Like as soon as you have fresh sawdust out, I had 45 videos in one night
Really?
just from them checking out the sawdust. They didn't give a crap about apples. I was like, let's see if they like apples or sawdust because I feel like there's a reason loggers see a lot of deer. Fresh sawdust everywhere.
I suppose.
There's a reason my sister's fiance had to put a brush guard on his truck.
Really?
He hits deer and turkeys all the time because they're always on the old logging roads.
I bet.
That was my grandpa's tried and true, like, little hack sawdust.
Sawdust. Especially if it comes from an apple tree.
And then if you think about it this way, you spread it before you get to your stand. What do you smell like?
Sawdust.
Who gives a
Genius.
shit about scent free?
That stuff's a hoax anyways. Scent-free clothing.
I'm not gonna lie, I do scent free on my laundry,
Well, yeah. You just...
but
All it is a replacement from scented detergent.
yeah. I would like to put it in a box with like cedar or something. At least then it smells good.
You know, just spray down with some nose jammer.
Is that what you use?
I'll use it. They say it's supposed to like jam the deer's nose scents. I think it's more of a cover-up scent, but I have pretty good luck with it. It smells like vanilla.
Because I've only ever used oh my God, it's like in the orange bottle. It's like at Fleet Farm. But
Dead downwind.
my clothes smell funky after I use it.
So I'll use like a scent elimination spray, and then I'll use this nose jammer. I'll spray it on the tree when I get out to the stand.
Now you're going to be using sawdust and people are going to think you're crazy.
I'll try it. I'll try anything once.
If you try it, you're going to have to let me know how it goes.
We'll see. I don't know if I'm just going to go cut down trees.
I haven't had luck with it like the day of necessarily, but if I do it the night before, then I have more luck.
Really?
But it has to be fresh. It can't be like sitting around for a few days.
I suppose moisture and all that stuff.
Yeah, and I don't think they really care if it's an apple tree or what it is, but I've done it with like pine and maple and they don't really care. They're still very curious.
I'll keep that on my radar.
Yeah, I would like to know how it works in Iowa.
I'll let you know if I get to it.
Yeah, please do, because I'd be curious, because on 2.5 acres, I feel like you can't really like say it's a thing, but if my grandpa used to do it, there's a reason.
You can't cut down too many trees on this 2.5 acres.
Oh, those are all just fallen from windstorms.
Really?
Yeah, they'll like fall for windstorms or whatever, and you need firewood for the fireplace and stuff, but
When you get to sawing down a tree, it does smell pretty good.
yeah, I can't remember what one was the one that just fell. Maybe it's like a hickory or something. The bees went crazy for that.
Really?
So many bees. My dad couldn't even finish cutting it up for a week and a half.
Afraid of the bees?
No, they were eating all the sap and stuff that were coming out of it.
Really?
So like they were just like utilizing all of the sap that was coming out of it because it was like draining out of it. Was it a hickory or was it like a It's the ones that you get the big nut things from that can fall and give you a concussion on your head.
I think it's a hickory. I'm not positive though.
I don't know. I'm not a tree expert. It's what I have my sister's fiance for.
There you go.
I don't know what a white pine is versus a red pine. It's a pine.
But before we wrap this up, I usually like to finish each episode by pulling a couple of embarrassing stories from our guests. So if you have any embarrassing hunting stories, fill us in.
I guess not necessarily. Can I give you two?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so the first one that comes to mind is I was filming early goose season, and it was the tail end of a 3 to 4 week long trip where I filmed elk in Colorado, filmed antelope and ranching in Wyoming, and then I went to Missouri to film early goose. And I was filming for my buddy who I had met like the year before, earlier that year for turkey season. And he's, hey, you want to come film early goose? And I was like, sure, when is it? And it was at the tail end of that. And I was like, sure, why not? But he didn't forewarn any of his buddies that I was coming. And none of them have ever hunted with a woman before. But he knew how I was. So he knew I was already pretty unhinged. But he didn't tell anybody. So they're all really worried about what they're going to say on camera. They're worried about trying to keep it PG-13 and not offend me. And I kept telling them it's very hard to offend me. Unless you tell me to wear pink camouflage, it's the only time I'm going to be offended. And they still didn't believe me. I have ADHD, so then my Adderall hit, which is essentially like drinking 3 giant cups of coffee. And I was like, now I have to poop. And I don't have anything with me. And they just finished setting up the blind. It's almost sunrise. And I was like, I have to poop. And all the guys just look at me and they're like, did she just say?
Girls poop?
Yeah. They use hunting as an excuse to dude things. I'm like, I'm essentially a dude because I have to be because I'm the only woman on site most of the time. So anyways, they start scouring their trucks for anything I can use. Napkins, toilet paper, I don't care. I was like, I am not using a sock. I am not sacrificing a sock for this endeavor. It's not happening. So eventually they finally find it. I go out, do my stuff, come back, and it's like the floodgates open. Like they start talking about all the typical waterfowl blind talk between dudes that girls don't ever see. And like, it was like I was initiated into the dudes at that point.
Because you
But I
mentioned
was like,
poop.
yeah, as soon as I mentioned having to poop, then the floodgates opened. And then the other story is same guy when I met him for turkey hunting. I don't want to say embarrassing, more funny, but it's me and another girl that I'm filming. We both have to pee. I go outside and I pee outside the blind. So he hears everything right next to the blind. I don't care. It is what it is. I can't just whip it out. It's not that easy. And so we get acquainted through bodily functions like that, pretty much, and not giving a crap, which I feel should be normal for
Yep.
hunters. Like that should be a normal thing,
Good
but
bonding
it's not.
experience.
Yeah, but it's not. I have met plenty of guys who will not poop in the woods, and I don't understand. Why are you even out here? I don't get it. But anyways, so this girl, like, we're not seeing anything. It's like Kansas and no, that was Missouri, and that it was like 95 degrees. It's friggin' hot. I'm sitting there in my Sitka vest because I can't keep a t-shirt on because I'm too hot. And this girl's, I'm just gonna like army crawl up this ridge and see if there's any turkeys down below. And I was like, well, I guess as the videographer, I'm coming with, huh? I'm just gonna put ticks all down my stomach. No. As soon as I leave, I have my headphones on, which is a very rare occurrence. And my buddy has the microphone on, still sitting in the blind, watching us from behind, trying to like scoot up this little ridge area. I'm like probably 20 yards from the blind, and he farts into the microphone.
Really?
And the intern is still sitting in the blind with him. And he farts into the microphone. And I turn around, like just freaking whip my head because he knows that I'm the only person who heard it because he knows I have my headphones on. And they just start freaking laughing. And I was like, well, if there were turkeys, there aren't any now. So then later that year is when I did the goose hunt thing. And I was like, I hope no one gets pink eye from this microphone. If you do, you can blame it on Brody.
That's hilarious.
So I would say those are more
They're pretty
fun
funny,
stories, but
funny stories.
especially being like a woman out in the blind, like you're just guys try to keep it very PG until they realize how unhinged I am.
I would be the same way.
Yeah, till I talk about pooping, and
All natural.
when I was on the last elk hunt, I couldn't poop for a week.
That sounds terrible.
Yeah, those freeze-dried meals hit differently.
Won't make that mistake again.
The first year I did the same meals totally fine. Second year was not fine. It was not a good time.
Gotta be careful.
Yeah, it's a learning experience. It's a learning curve.
But this has been a lot of fun. I appreciate you hopping on and recording an episode with me.
Yeah, I appreciate your scheduling because this has been a work in progress.
I get it. It happens. Life happens.
I'm glad I could find internet at least because I was worried I couldn't for a while.
Good meeting you, and we'll definitely have to stay in touch.
Yeah, sounds good. And let me know if the sawdust works in Iowa. I'm curious.
I'll keep an open mind.